So, um, a common error, mistake, um, and I think it's like there's a violence to the mistake, which I'm purposely choosing as a really strong word. But there's like it'll probably seem like a subtle mistake, a small mistake, a little thing, a minor part of the whole. But I think it could be kind of like a grievous mistake or like a gross misunderstanding. um, and that is that when we're thinking about these topics like letting go and allowing these kind of, maybe we'll call them spiritual concepts or something, is we say that I'm going to allow that to be what it is, what it wants to be. I'm going to allow that to take its own course or express itself its own way, and that of course appears to be rather enlightened, right? Like, well, that's some growth. Like, you're letting things take their own shape, you're letting your kids make their own mistakes, you're letting the water flow its own way, that sounds like a step in the right direction, and it does evidence some recognition of the value of letting go and acceptance and recognition of agency and other, all that kind of thing. But I think it makes a really fundamental misunderstanding of it that leads to, in many cases, like a lifetime of error-based practice during which somebody thinks they are growing, right? So it's sort of like your mom quit smoking 30 years ago. Like, man, to have quit smoking way back then and stuck with it, that's clearly you shifted towards the healthier path. But then when we hear the whole story, she just switched for heroin. So it's like, well, okay, I mean, you did stop smoking, but what you did is you took this other thing, and now you've spent 30 years going in a pretty obviously bad direction. And so it's not enough just to quit smoking. It's like, well, how did that happen? So I'm allowing this to whatever, to be its own nature. So let's say right now there's a kid in Congo letting a sheep out of the pen, maybe early, like earlier than normal. If you and I sat here now in America this morning saying, either one of us, I'll just say me, right now there's a guy in Congo letting the sheep out of the pen early. You'd be like, I don't know why you're bringing that fact up, but I guess you have a webcam or something, and he's blogging about it on Facebook. But okay, fine, I accept it. Some guy's doing that. But if I said to you, I'm allowing him to do that, well, that's an error. I'm aware of him doing it, but I'm not allowing him to do it.
Yeah.
And if I was to say, I'm allowing this kid to let the sheep out of the pen early, and I was not lying, then I'm actually telling you a bigger story, which is that A, the kid's letting the sheep out early, but also apparently I'm in charge over there. Like, I own the farm or something maybe, and I am in fact allowing him, and I sent an email to the farm manager last night, and you're like, all right, I don't know why you would be in charge of a farm there, but fair enough. So if I am saying I'm allowing him, but I'm not, it's just really odd and wrong. It's a lie maybe. But it also, if I believe it, it's not so much a lie as a misunderstanding for me, that I have anything to do with that.
Right.
So when we talk about letting go, when we use the language I'm allowing something, we're essentially saying I established control, governance of something so that I can allow it. In other words, I'm only seemingly let it do its own thing, be itself, make its own mistakes, go its own way, express itself in its manner. But it's only because I allow, I say so. We don't know what the extent of my allowing is. If I micromanage or just occasionally hint at something, maybe I have a power imbalance and I just kind of make a face and they get the idea to pull back a little, or maybe I write it all down and I give them 38 steps to make me a cup of coffee or whatever it is. But to the outside it can look like I let go, like I'm letting them do it. But really, if I'm letting, what precedes letting is being in charge, which is not letting go. Right, so to have let go is to have ceded authority, to have ceded control, right? Or to never invoke it, never develop it.
When you say ceded control.
C-E-D-E.
Right. In this discourse, what I was hearing was that you had control, and now you're
Right. So
you're ceding control.
So
to
let's say I own the farm
yeah,
for just my whole life,
yeah,
and today I say let the sheep out whenever you want.
yeah.
We could say I'm ceding control for today, but it's within the context of we all still know if I change my mind,
Yeah.
you have to do what I say. If I come back from vacation early, or at any rate next week, I'll start
Right.
giving orders again. That's not what I mean by cede control. Where within the context of control, you allow somebody something or other, right? What I mean is, it's not my farm. I've ultimately let go, right? So whenever we have this idea that I'm letting something, whatever, it can seem as though I'm losing control, but really my control is just a valve. It's not an actual replacement of the valve, so things just flow, right? So we want to change the valve to a pipe. I don't want to have the control. So the language usually tells us what's really at root there. When somebody say, I'm allowing, somebody uses language like that. Oh, I'm just letting this do its own thing. Well, if you're letting it, is it really doing its own thing? And often we see this in power dynamics where there are yin expressions of control that are not overt. They're not like military orders, but you still kind of, you're kind of still my
Expression.
boss, and you just said, I think I love donuts, and even though the whole office voted on bagels, the boss is like, I love bagels, or whatever, I just said donuts. The boss is outvoted, but they're still the boss, and everybody's getting donuts today. And that's like that yin control.
Yeah.
And it's not that the boss was trying to do it, but there's a power dynamic, right? So to let go is to not have control, not be in charge, not own, right?
Right.
So your relationship to the expression, the action, the whatever it is, the other thing, the other is one of witness. Right?
Right.
That's it. And we see this all the time with people that donate things, right? They donate time, they donate money, they donate clothes, whatever it might be. And, donating looks like letting go. And you can live your whole life having donated regularly your time on a board or whatever it is. And people see you as, boy, you have 30 years, you're just a community giver and you're always donating, doing a fundraiser. And that looks like enlightenment. But ultimately, every time that they give, they're buying something, right? Here's some money. I don't want you to buy any drugs, right? I want to give you this, but just don't buy any alcohol with this, right? Or I want to give these clothes away to somebody in need, but I want to make sure that they don't ship them to that country I don't agree with, or I want to make sure they go to somebody in my community or I don't want to make sure you don't just sell these clothes to make money. I want them to actually go on somebody's backs, or this sort of thing. And like what you're doing is you're buying something. You're buying at least an assurance that what maybe it's not true, but you're buying an assurance. But that's not really letting go. That's not really giving, right? Now, is that better than not giving? It probably is, right? Because you are still giving the money or the clothes and your time. But is that really like enlightenment in terms of letting go? It's something else. It tells me that you have a misunderstanding fundamentally of what letting go is. If you're saying, I'd love to buy you a meal, but I expect you to hear me talk about my marriage that's falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's not what you said. You said you wanted to buy me lunch, not right.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm gonna buy you a coffee, but I assume next time you'll buy me a coffee. Like, oh, you just bought an assumption or a contract or an implied contract, right? And that's not really giving. So we can see if I give something and it has strings attached, I haven't let go of it, right? It's attached to me. So letting go can be how things attach to me, how I attach to those things.
In accounting, there's
Mhm.
there's two concepts of how to categorize a transaction in nonprofit.
Like received value or something like that?
Well, something like that. In other words, there's something called a gift. I am making a donation, no strings attached,
Right.
versus an exchange.
Uh-huh.
I'm a nonprofit. I need the lawn mowed.
Mm-hmm.
I am. You are mowing you're the contractor. You're
Right.
mowing the lawn, and I'm paying you to mow the lawn.
Right.
That's an exchange.
Right, right.
They get categorized differently.
Right.
One's an exchange, and one's an outright. I'm giving this to you, or you're giving this to me.
So if somebody mows the lawn without getting remuneration, then you might give them here's your deduction form, like if you want to take your $400 value off your taxes.
You could, you can do, depending on
Mm-hmm.
some specifics. Yeah, you can
Right.
do that, but in other words, a gift would be the contractor mowing the lawn, and it's just, you don't have to do anything, you don't
Right.
have to pay me,
Right, right.
just mowing your lawn.
Right.
That's a gift. I'm giving
Right.
you this clothing.
Right,
That's a
right.
gift.
Yeah.
Goodwill is a good
Mhm.
example of that. Okay, so I'll introduce.
And then similar to that, right?
Yeah.
If I'm using your gift language correctly, quite often people will donate, let's say to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Let's say it's $1,000 worth of stuff, right?
Mhm.
Furniture, clothes, I don't know. And so that's, we could say, is a societal good. Like you didn't just throw it away, somebody else can use it, all that's true. But we also know that somebody that does that will get the tax form that says I can deduct, I don't know if it's $1,000, but let's say it's 1,000 from my taxes because this is proof that I gave it away. So if you accrue that benefit and that wasn't your reason for donating it, we might say that you let go, but you're living in the world wisely. I should take the deduction. But of course, a lot of people will say, I'm looking for deductions.
Yeah.
I think I can get away with giving these, which really I just don't like and I want to get rid of. I'm not thinking about others. And so now, maybe not tax law wise, but this is now a lack of letting go. I'm physically letting go of my stuff, but I'm buying the deduction in essence, right? Yeah. And so then that's where it can look like a practice of letting go, and somebody will believe that they are, and they could live. Yeah. Like, I know like monks that do this, like 40 years, they misunderstand letting go. And they're doing all these things that to the outside look like letting go, but they're not. They're all purchases. Yeah. I'm still connected to the outcome, and I'm still basing it in some sense of control, which is not at all letting go. It's just a different thing.
Okay, so let me throw another word in to this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and to see how it rolls out. And the word is detachment.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have an attachment to something,
Mm-hmm.
and you detach from it. And
Yes.
One of the practices you had recommended was bring something down to the shore,
Right. Throw it in the
throw
water.
it in the water, something that really doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Pick up a rock.
Yep.
Now, next step.
And then bring a rock from home that you like.
Right, and then bring an earring down there, and bring a ring or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
So I'll just say it so it's clear since I'm recording. So first, just as an example, you pick up a rock at the beach, you throw it out. Then you bring a rock from home that you always like seeing in your yard. Then you bring a dollar bill or a quarter or something, and you throw that out. Then you bring like a ring or an earring or something, and then you bring your mother's earring or something like that, like
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
And basically, you just continue this practice of more and more. I don't know if intrinsic is the word, but like personal value.
Attachment.
Yeah, right. So that's a practice. Were you going to add to that? Because I interrupted.
Well, so the word is detach, and so
Right.
that's a practice of.
Yeah. So the word detach is challenging because we can share a word but not share an understanding.
Mhm.
So detachment can mean never being attached, right? Like I'm just detached,
Yeah.
right? And it can mean to disattach, like an action.
Right.
So I want to make sure I know which version we're talking about. Like to be detached could basically mean to be passionless or disconnected or introverted or uncaring. And then the active, I notice I'm caught up in the spider's web of things.
Right.
I want to disassociate, disattach. I forgot where you started with detachment. Sorry.
So bringing, letting go, and the context I'm referring to is disattachment.
Yes, right.
So bringing disattachment into this conversation,
Yes.
maybe versus letting go,
Right.
and how disattachment fits in with Love, Serve, Remember Foundation.
Okay. All right. I'll address that separately.